Hey guys, so we're going to be continuing on with our trig today, and we're finally moving away from the tangent ratio. We're going to be doing both sine and cosine today and finding angles with both of them. So this is lesson 2.4, finding angles with sine and cosine. It's going to work the exact same as with tangent. We're just going to be using different sides of the triangle. So when we're finding angles, whether it's with tangent or with sine or with cosine, we always use the inverse, so second and then tan, second and sine, that kind of thing. And step one should always be to label your sides. So in this first example here, I'm going to label my side across from the right angle as my hypotenuse. The side across from the angle that I'm looking for is my opposite side, and then the third side is my adjacent. Now, in this case, I have my opposite and my hypotenuse sides. So if you remember from your SOHCAHTOA, or if you just look on your formula sheet, you'll see that when I have the hypotenuse and the opposite, the hypotenuse and the opposite, then sine is the ratio that I can use. I cannot use tan because I don't have the adjacent side. Same with cosine. Don't have the adjacent side, so I can't use it. So I'm going to start with my formula, the sine of an angle, and the short form for sine is just S-I-N, is opposite over adjacent. I'll plug in my opposite of 12. Oh, sorry, I'm still stuck on tan. Opposite over hypotenuse. Plug in my opposite and my hypotenuse, so 12 over 15. And then in order to isolate for my unknown angle, I have to get rid of the sine. So the opposite of that is a sine inverse, which means I also need to take the sine inverse of the 12 over 15. So on my calculator, the way I plug that in is just second sine, so the sine inverse, and then 12 divided by 15. And my answer is 53.13 degrees. Okay, let's try one more example. So in this case, I have a different angle that I've been given. So my hypotenuse is across from my right angle, so this will be my hypotenuse out here. My opposite is across from the angle that I'm given. So this time, this is my opposite side. Last time, the bottom was the opposite side. And then the third side is my adjacent. Now this time, I have the hypotenuse and the adjacent side, the hypotenuse and the adjacent side, which means that I'm using cosine. So the cosine, which we represent with COS for short, of an angle is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So we'll plug in our adjacent side of 13 divided by 22. Take the inverse of it. And when we plug that in, we are going to have the second cos for the cosine inverse of 13 over 22. Don't forget to close your bracket. And our angle is 53.78 degrees. And that's your final answer. So once again, really important to start with labeling your sides. It's how you figure out whether you're going to be using sine or cosine. That all comes down to which sides you're given in the triangle. Okay, that's it for today's lesson. Tomorrow we'll be using sine and cosine to find missing side lengths.